UFC 313 just wrapped up, and I'm going to give my reaction to every single fight on the card from the main event all the way down to the last prelim fight. And 2 fights were canceled on this card, but let's not waste any time. You guys know what you want to hear about. Magomed Ankalaev versus Alex Pereira. Yes, I have to eat my words. However, I made a video saying that Magomed Ankalaev's wrestling will not be enough against Alex Pereira, and I actually was proven right as he went 0 for 11 or 0 for 12 on takedowns. Alex Pereira defended every single takedown, and Magomed Ankalaev actually had to use push kicks, forward boxing pressure, and good striking in order to defeat Alex Pereira. He does defeat Alex Pereira by a 49-46, a 48-47, 48-7 scorecard. I actually scored it live, 1, 3, and 5 for Alex Pereira, but it's not a robbery. It could have went either way. And I'll be honest, man, in the fight, Alex Pereira looked very gun shy, like he was maybe knocked out in sparring or injured. He looked uncharacteristically gun shy, and maybe that was because of the takedown threat of Magomed Ankalaev. But man, if Alex Pereira knew he was going to stuff all 12 takedowns, who would have known that Alex Pereira would defend every single takedown? Magomed Ankalaev, the strong wrestler from Dagestan, couldn't take down Alex Pereira, the glory kickboxer, a single time throughout a 5-round fight. And I think this was an embarrassing performance for both of them. Alex looked embarrassingly gun-shy and on the back foot, and I think Magomed Ankalaev proved that if you can put Alex Pereira on the back foot, he's just not that same guy. He's not the same fighter, but it is what it is, man. Magomed Ankalaev gets it done. He beats Alex Pereira by forward pressure. He cracked Alex Pereira at the end of the second round, and I thought he was going to get a finish. I was worried. This fight gave me jitters and chills the entire time. Alex Pereira's throwing head kicks, but he's on the back foot most of the fight. Ankalaev starts the grappling heavy approach in round 4. I think that was the game plan, just like he did against Jan Blachowicz. He lost the first 3 rounds, and then he switched to grappling in the 4th and 5th and ended up making it a draw. But in the Pereira fight, he didn't really grapple at all in the first 3 rounds. Magomed Ankalaev kept it on the feet with Alex Pereira, struck with him, and honestly had great success. And something I noticed throughout the fight is whenever Alex Pereira was chopping at his legs, every time Alex Pereira would throw a leg kick, Magomed Ankalaev would charge forward and look to land a big shot on Alex Pereira. And every single time he did this, I cringed. I was like, man, Magomed Ankalaev is going to catch Alex Pereira on the chin and put him out. Every time Alex Pereira would throw a leg kick, Magomed would just charge forward. But either way, I ultimately am disappointed with the result of this fight. I do think Alex Pereira is a more active champion. I think he's a more exciting champion. And now we get Magomed Ankalaev win. Next time in October in Abu Dhabi, we won't see him for another 7-8 months. I mean, congrats to Ankalaev. He won the fight, but I'm not going to pretend like he's entertaining. He's boring. He doesn't speak English. He's not an entertaining fighter. He has 1 KO since 2020. I'm not going to pretend like I don't prefer Alex Pereira as a champion. I do. That's why I picked him. I actually enjoy the sport, other than some of you dorks that would rather see Magomed Ankalaev just smudge grapple his way into a decision. I'm sorry, but I don't see a world where Magomed Ankalaev wins that 5th round. I thought it was 1-3-5 for Alex. And the fact that some judges scored the fight in favor of Ankalaev winning that 5th round, I don't understand it. Holding guys against the fence versus like taking hard shots. Even Pereira said in the post-fight interview that Magomed Ankalaev was incentivizing other guys fighting that way because the judges rewarded. So why not fight like Mario Bautista? Why not fight like Marab? Why not fight like Ankalaev in round 4 and 5? Why not hold guys against the fence? You know what I'm saying? Because the judges reward that kind of stuff. I personally think that the judges should value takedown defense more. If you're showing that you're putting the fight in the position you wanted in and the other guy isn't getting what he wants, that should be scored in the fight. Defend and takedown should be scored. If you're not going to allow knees to a grounded opponent, we need takedowns defended to be scored, because it's not fair for the guy who's like Alex Pereira, who's defending 12 takedowns. Magomed should literally just hold him against the cage and nothing's happening. And also, can we talk about Alex Pereira sweeping and throwing Magomed Ankalaev down on the ground in round 3 and then walking away like nothing happened? That was absolutely hilarious. But yes, guys, obviously I'm coping. Magomed Ankalaev won the fight. I do not think it was a robbery. He had great push kicks. He had great boxing, great forward pressure, and he initiated the grappling whenever he was supposed to. Like Dana White would say, wasn't a barn burner. It definitely was not a barn burner, and I am disappointed in the result, as I did pick Alex Pereira by a 3rd round KO. But Alex Pereira, it wasn't a great showing from him. I'm not going to pretend like he fought like a guy who wanted to keep his belt. He was on the back foot a lot of the fight. He was very gun shy. He was throwing, he was putting out there a bunch of feints, but not really committing with anything. It was very weird to see Alex Pereira fight the way he did. I thought that he would put Ankalaev on the back foot more and pressure him, but Ankalaev's game plan of pressuring Alex Pereira backwards was very smart, because as we learned in this fight, Alex Pereira tends to gas out whenever he gets pressed backwards, like he did in the first Israel Adesanya fight in the UFC. and now shown again against Ankalaev. If you can pressure Alex Pereira backwards, he's not the same guy. He's not the same fighter. The shaman magic isn't as strong, and obviously he's not going to be able to land big, powerful left hooks going backwards, and he's also not going to be able to land flying knees or super hard leg kicks. Anything going backwards is harder than going forwards. And Magomed Ankalaev put the pressure on him, which was very smart game plan. Like I said, it wasn't a barn burner. It wasn't the most exciting fight in the world, and I am disappointed. I 100% wanted the funner, more active, and more exciting fighter in Alex Pereira to keep his belt, but they gave it to Magomed Ankalaev. You know what that means. We get a title fight in the light heavyweight division every 10 months. Sure, I know Magomed Ankalaev fought in October, but let's not pretend like this guy fights more than twice a year. He fights twice a year. He fights on average, I think, every 9 to 10 months, which isn't the most active. And yeah, man, what is there to say? I knew that Ankalaev was not going to get a submission win, and I knew he was not going to be able to ground and pound TKO Alex. But little did I know he would not get a single takedown against a former glory kickboxer. Listen, say what you want about Alex Pereira improving his wrestling, but the fact that this guy's only been training MMA for like 10 years and probably grappling for like 5 years, and Magomed Ankalaev couldn't secure a single takedown against him was kind of embarrassing. I do think if going into a potential rematch, you got to think that Alex Pereira is going to go in there much more confident that he is going to be able to stuff all the takedowns of Ankalaev. And so maybe he'll be more like confident going forward instead of backing up so much, because Ankalaev backed up Alex so much. You almost got to wonder if Alex's right hand was injured, because he seemed to not throw any right hands at all. It was just left hooks, and he was literally spamming leg kicks. I was getting annoyed in the middle of the fight with how many leg kicks Alex Pereira was spamming. Like, dude, we get it. You busted up Ank's legs, but he's still going to switch stances and move on you. Either way, I can't say this was an entertaining fight. I was on the edge of my seat. I was extremely nervous because anytime Alex Pereira fights, it just feels like he's going to get slept or sleep somebody. So you're on the edge of your seat. It was nerve-wracking, but ultimately, the better guy in Magomed Ankalaev won on the night. I do want to see the rematch. I am interested in it, and I would favor Alex Pereira in a rematch. Now that he knows he can stuff the takedowns, I do think he could have one up on Magomed Ankalaev and potentially be the one pressuring forward. But who knows, man? Alex Pereira's taking a lot of damage. He's 37 years old. I don't know how much miles he has left. Maybe he goes up to heavyweight. It's crazy to think this guy's ever made middleweight, considering how brutal his weight cut is now to light heavyweight. This guy's a massive light heavyweight. And yeah, man, Magomed Ankalaev is the new reigning light heavyweight champion. That puts him, Islam, and Belal, 3 Muslim champions now. The Russians and the Muslims are reigning over the UFC, and there's not a damn thing we can do about it but sit here and accept it. So yeah, Magomed Ankalaev wins a unanimous decision over Alex Pereira. That's what we have to live with. Let's get on to that co-main event, Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev. Now, I'm actually pissed about this because my ESPN kept crashing in and out for this entire fight, and I literally missed like half the fight. So I'm going to have to go back and watch it. I know Justin Gaethje dropped Rafael Fiziev at one point, and even like people were talking about, man, is Justin Gaethje going to get a freaking submission? But Rufus, my boy Justin Gaethje, he looked like himself again. His chin is not completely shot. I mean, Rafael Fiziev on short notice seemed to have a better gas tank than he did against Gaethje in the first fight. So Rafael Fiziev, obviously it sucks. He's now dropped 2 fights to Gaethje. It's never great to have 2 losses to the same guy. I'm sure he was hoping he can get that one back over Gaethje, but that's the risk you take, man. Rafael Fiziev, obviously he's been out of the cage for a year and a half due to his ACL tear, but he's been training. He was in great shape for this fight. His cardio seemed better, but it did not matter. Justin Gaethje held it down. He dropped Rafael Fiziev. He did more damage. He landed more strikes. And yeah, Rafael Fiziev took him down, but Justin Gaethje was able to get back to the feet and sort of piece him up in moments and just do his thing. And Rufus returns. I am happy for Justin Gaethje. I was worried after the Max fight that he would never be the same guy, but I did pick him to win by 29-28 decision, and I think that's exactly what he won by, 29-28 decision. So shout out to Justin Gaethje, showing that even if you get face planted by Max Holloway, you take some time off and you come back and you remain stronger. And yeah, Justin Gaethje remains back in the win column. He beats number 11 Rafael Fiziev, who he already had a win over. So I don't think this win does much for Justin Gaethje in terms of the rankings or like next title shot. I do not think he deserves a title shot against Islam Makhachev. I mean, he's on a 1-fight win streak. I know Islam wants to fight different guys, but there's Topuria there. There's an Armen rematch there. There's other guys that deserve it. There's Patty if he beats Chandler. It's like, I do not want to see Islam Makhachev fighting Justin Gaethje for a title shot on a 1-fight win streak. We already know he's going to take him down and submit him. But yeah, shout out to Justin Gaethje. He outworked, out-hustled, outstruck Rafael Fiziev and knocked him down in a moment and did more damage. So yeah, Justin Gaethje prevails and he gets the win over Rafael Fiziev, getting back into that win column. I was super happy for him. Let's get to that feature fight. Jalin Turner versus Ignacio Bahamondes. I mean, this fight, not much happened. Ignacio versus Jalin Turner, they were just trading on the feet with some light pitter-pat shots, and then they end up on the ground. Ignacio Bahamondes scrambles. It looks like he's going to get an armbar. Then he transitions to triangle, and I couldn't tell if he had it, but the commentary was like, oh, it's tight, it's tight. And then Jalin Turner does like a slow motion tap, which kind of made me giggle for some reason. But yeah, man, ever since Jalin Turner brutally KO'd Bobby Green, he's not the same guy. He seems gun-shy. He seems like he's afraid to hurt people now. He's low-key turning into Uriah Hall. Uriah Hall, after he had that brutal KO in the Ultimate Fighter, was super gun-shy. He was scared to let his hands go after that. He was afraid to hurt people. And yeah, maybe Jalin Turner should hang it up. I heard on the broadcast John Anik saying that Jalin Turner retired. This was another fight whenever my stream crashed on ESPN Plus as soon as Ignacio's post-fight interview was over. So who knows what happened, but I heard Jalin Turner retired. It's unfortunate. He's 29 years old. Maybe he should give welterweight another try. He's 6'3" in the lightweight division. I know Ignacio is, but man, that's a massive lightweight. And yeah, man, it kind of felt like Jalin Turner just kind of gave up a slow motion tap. Ignacio Bahamondes is going to break into the top 15, and you slowly are seeing the changing of the guard at lightweight. I know Rafael Fiziev lost, but we have Bahamondes that is going to be in the rankings. We have Paddy Pimblett in the rankings. We have probably Joe Alvarez going to be breaking into the rankings. There's a lot of guys new in the lightweight division that are going to be breaking into the rankings. It's a new time. The old heads are all on their way out. The Justin Gaethjes, the Dustin Poiriers, the Islams even are 33 years old. I mean, lightweight, half the division in the top 15 seems to be 35 plus. It's absolutely crazy, and I'm happy we're getting these new up-and-comers. But yeah, Ignacio Bahamondes pretty much gets in a scramble with Jalin Turner on the ground, locks up a triangle, Jalin Turner taps, and then Jalin Turner retires at 29 years old, apparently. So, yeah, shout out to Ignacio Bahamondes. I did pick him. I picked him by TKO. I did not think he would get it done by submission. He actually said himself in the post-fight interview that he knew he would get it done by submission. So, shout out to Ignacio for predicting his own fight. But, yeah, I do think that Jalin Turner is kind of a quitter now, and maybe he should retire. This sport isn't for him, maybe start a podcast on YouTube like a lot of other people are doing, start a gym. But if you've got one foot out the door and you're talking about retirement, because I already know Jalin Turner is going to come back and say, I acted emotional. I'm not actually going to retire. I'm going to get back into the gym. I'm going to come back better. But I don't know, man. I don't think Jalin Turner's ever going to be anything in that lightweight division. Either try welterweight if you're Jalin Turner again, because he has already, or retire. And for Ignacio Bahamondes, man, he's in the rankings now. Maybe give him like a Beneil Dariush. He called him out. I like that matchup. That's a banger of a fight. Beneil Dariush was supposed to fight Moicano back in January. He got pulled from the fight on last notice. So Ignacio versus Beneil, I don't hate it. Ignacio took no damage. Let's book it, man. Let's get these fighters active. And yeah, Ignacio Bahamondes putting Chile on his back. So yeah, that was the feature fight. Let's get on to the next fight. Amanda Lemos literally just smudge grappled Iasmin Lucindo into a decision, and that's literally nothing else to say. I picked Iasmin Lucindo. Amanda Lemos just bullied her into a decision win. And yeah, not much else to say about this fight. Moving on, because this fight right here absolutely killed the hype of the main card, because this was one of the most brutal KOs I've ever seen and most stylish KOs I've ever seen. Mauricio Ruffy knocks out Bobby Green out cold with a spinning wheel kick, a left hook into a spinning wheel kick, bounces off the octagon. Bobby Green literally goes out cold, mouth full of blood. And man, was that one of the most brutal KOs I've ever seen live. It was absolutely insanely brutal. Bobby Green seemed very gun-shy in this fight, like he was scared to throw. He was having an extremely hard time finding range against Mauricio Ruffy, who was just kind of doing his thing. And not much happened throughout the first. This fight was only 2 minutes and 7 seconds into the first round, but not much happened. They were just kind of filling each other out on the feet, kind of just like playing patty cake in the octagon, and nothing was really happening. And then boom, Mauricio Ruffy lands a left hook into a spinning wheel kick, and it's absolutely brutal, man. Bobby Green has now been KO'd brutally like 4 times in the UFC by Dustin Poirier, by Drew Dober, by Jalin Turner, and now by Mauricio Ruffy. I think Bobby Green should 100% hang it up. He's 38 years old. He's taken a ton of damage, and yeah, man, don't change your name to King at 37 years old, and because that is a proof you have CTE. But for Mauricio Ruffy, man, he was getting a lot of crap saying he was overrated after that last fight against James Lontop, who had like 20 pounds on him, and he was unable to finish him. But people forget, man, Mauricio Ruffy, his nickname is One Shot, dude. This guy has power, and he didn't do it with the hands this time. He did it with the heel. Absolutely knocked out Bobby Green out cold on the canvas. Very brutal. Bobby Green, was good to see him get up on his feet on his own. He was okay after the fight, but man, that is generational damage for Bobby Green taking in his last few fights. Put to sleep with his arm broken by Paddy Pimblett. knocked out by Mauricio Ruffy, knocked out by Jalen Turner, knocked out by Drew Dober. Bobby Green has taken generational amount of damage in his last couple fights, and I think he should hang it up. And for Mauricio Ruffy, man, that's a brutal KO. I don't think he deserves a ranked opponent quite yet, but he's looking to fight the Ludovic Kleins and the Fiziev in the division. So, yeah, he's obviously going to get an opponent up the rankings. And listen, if you can't take this guy down, his striking is extremely dangerous. He's like a Brazilian Conor McGregor. He has a similar stance, and he's so dangerous. I think he has more power than Conor, maybe. But, yeah, man, he's fast. He's lethal on the feet, and he puts Bobby Green out cold with a wheel kick. One of the most brutal KOs and craftiest KOs I've ever seen live. Up there with the Barboza versus Terry Edom. Not quite as clean, but it's up there, man. Mauricio Ruffy wheel kicks him, stands over his body. Bobby Green out cold, mouthful of blood. Ruffy gets it done, round 1. Yeah, want to see him fight up the rankings. Let's see how good his grappling is whenever he gets tested. Moving on to the next fight, who headlined the prelims, Joshua Van versus Rei Tsuruya. First of all, Rei Tsuruya came in this fight absolutely Marab maxing. This dude shot, 21 takedowns, and he only got 4. Joshua Van proving that he has some of the best takedown defense in all of the flyweight division. His takedown defense was absolutely insane. He showed, you're not going to hold me against the fence like I'm Jose Aldo. I'm going to get up. Even Joshua Van was fighting to get to his feet or scrambling out of every single position. Every single time Rei Tsuruya got him to the ground, and he would not stay on the ground. Joshua Van has some of the best non-quitter mentality. He's not there to be held against the fence or held on the ground. He's there to get back to his feet and beat your ass. And that's exactly what he did. He beat the brakes off of Rei Tsuruya, was cracking him on the feet. I don't blame Rei Tsuruya for wrestling maxing and Marab pumping him the whole fight. I mean, look at the strike difference. 47 total strikes thrown by Rei Tsuruya versus 127 versus Joshua Van. Joshua Van came to fight. Rei Tsuruya came to grapple or wrestle. That was very obvious. And Rei Tsuruya had solid wrestling, but it wasn't enough, man. Against Joshua Van, you've got to have power to beat him. Proven by, who was it, Charles Johnson. If you don't have power, if you can't put this guy away, he's going to come forward. He's going to piece you up. He has amazing takedown defense. He has amazing scrambles to get back to his feet. And yeah, very happy. This was actually the first time in UFC history that 2 fighters, both born in the 2000s, fought against each other. Rei Tsuruya is 22 and Joshua Van's 23. So we had some absolutely young bucks going at it. And yeah, for Rei Tsuruya, he's a good prospect, a young guy, 22 years old, was undefeated. This is his first loss. He'll learn from it. He'll come back, hopefully improve his striking. And man, for Joshua Van, what is he now, 6-1 in the UFC? This kid's sky is the limit, man. His future is so bright. Amazing striking, amazing wrestling, amazing, or defensive wrestling, should I say. He just will not be held down on the ground. Joshua Van is the perfect example of a guy that you cannot hold down. He will not give up. He will not quit. He will just keep coming forward and busting you up, and that's exactly what he did. He did more damage. He landed more strikes. He out-hustled Rei Tsuruya nearly every single round, kept it on the feet for 90% of the fight, and gets it done, man. Happy for Joshua Van. He absolutely deserves to fight a ranked opponent ahead of him. Maybe Joshua Van versus the Tim, who is it? Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott, yeah. I forget that Tim Elliott's even still an active flyweight fighter. But yeah, Joshua Van versus Tim Elliott, the young buck versus literally the biggest unk of the division. Book it. That's the next fight to make. And for Rei Tsuruya, take some time off, come back against an unranked guy and see how you do. But yeah, this is a great fight. Joshua Van gets it done. And yeah, I really appreciated Van's hustle to get back to the feet and not just accept bottom position or accept position against the fence. So many times you see legends like Jose Aldo. Listen, I love Jose Aldo, but he has zero sense of urgency when he's being held against the fence. Go back and watch his fights against Marab and against Mario Bautista. Yeah, he gets pissed that he's being held against the fence, but he doesn't do anything. He doesn't try to get out of it. Joshua Van showed what you do in those positions, and he gets the unanimous decision win over Rei Tsuruya. Very good win for Joshua Van. Very entertaining performance. I liked it. Let's move on to the next fight. Brunno Ferreira with one of the most... I did not think he was going to win this way. Brunno Ferreira submits Armen Petrosyan with a second-round armbar. If you would have told me that Brunno Ferreira would have submitted Armen Petrosyan with an armbar, I'd have looked at you and laughed. What a very unlikely way for him to win. And yeah, man, in the fight, Armen Petrosyan was slightly outstriking Brunno Ferreira, and I thought that Brunno Ferreira in the second round was kind of fading, but doesn't matter, man. This guy apparently is a black belt in judo, a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he showed it submitting Armen Petrosyan. I think he's the first guy in the UFC to submit Armen Petrosyan, and yeah, what an absolute great performance by Brunno Ferreira. I thought he was going to get a knockout on Armen Petrosyan. I was like, you know what? Petrosyan's chin might not be the same after that share a bullet brutal KO. Brunno Ferreira has big power. If he lands a big overhand against Armen Petrosyan, he's going to go down, but didn't need it. They ended up on the ground. Brunno Ferreira transitions into an armbar, and he gets it. And man, Petrosyan tapped super fast. Must have been a type armbar. He did not want his arm snap. Tapped super fast. Petrosyan might get cut from the UFC after this one. That's what, his second or third loss in a row, getting finished. And for Brunno Ferreira, man, outside of that one loss, I forgot who he lost to, but he has one loss in the UFC. But man, back-to-back wins over solid guys. He's looking good. He's fighting up the division. Another exciting prospect in the middleweight division. This guy's got knockout power. He's got submissions. He could do it all. I think he's finished every single win he has. He has, I think, 13 wins now. I think he has, or 14 wins. He has 10 knockouts and 4 submissions. Very impressive by Brunno Ferreira, showing that he's not just a knockout guy. He can submit you on the ground. And yeah, like I said, if you would have told me he would have submitted Armen Petrosyan by an armbar, I would have been like, ha, good when he's going to knock him out or win by decision. And I thought Armen Petrosyan was going to start taking over in the second to third round because Brunno Ferreira would maybe gas. But that was not the case. Petrosyan gets submitted by the second round via armbar by Brunno Ferreira. And yeah, I predicted this fight right. I just thought Brunno Ferreira would get it done by KO, not by submission. Moving on to the next fight down the card, Alex Morono versus Carlos Leal. I knew there was not a chance in the world that Alex Morono was going to beat Carlos Leal. First of all, Carlos Leal has got every steroid in his ass that you've ever heard of. Let's be real. This guy has got back knee. He's literally got sores all over his entire body from shooting needles up his ass. We're not going to pretend like this guy isn't on heavy steroids. But yeah, I mean, USADA didn't show up to Carlos Leal's door, and so he came and beat the brakes off of Alex Morono like I thought he would. Listen, Alex Morono, he's just not good. He's just kind of like a jack of all trades kind of guy. He's kind of like a Marvin Vettori of welterweight. He's not really great anywhere. He doesn't really have great wrestling. He doesn't have great striking. He doesn't really have great jiu-jitsu. He's just kind of a jack of all trades, a master of nothing. That's kind of Alex Morono. And yeah, it showed in the fight. Alex Morono, terrible defense on the feet. And Carlos Leal didn't even look that great on the feet. He was just pressuring Alex Morono, just throwing big hooks back and forth. I thought at one point one of them was going to go down just by a brutal KO because they were both just throwing big meaty hooks back and forth. But Carlos Leal eventually gets Alex Morono against the cage, just landing bombs on him over and over. And then the ref eventually steps in. Carlos Leal tells the crowd that he's 2-0 in the UFC because everybody knows he beat Rinat Fakhretdinov. And I 100% agree. That fight at UFC 308, where Rinat Fakhretdinov was scored a 30-27 against Leal, is one of the worst robberies I've ever seen. He clearly lost every single round. Fakhretdinov's a fraud. Carlos Leal's the real deal. And he must have a deal with Kamaru Usman's dad with all those steroids because this dude is on everything. This dude is literally on everything. He's got the John Jones and TJ Dillashaw special. Either way, he gets it done. He finishes Alex Morono. For Alex Morono, it might be time to start looking at retirement. I mean, this guy's gotten finished a bunch of times in a row now. I don't think he's won a fight in a while. And for Carlos Leal, obviously you're going to be looking up the division. Maybe you do Carlos Leal versus like a Brian Battle or just somebody up a little bit right outside the rankings and see where he's at in terms of skill level. And for Alex Morono, maybe retire, man. He's taking a lot of damage. He's never going to be a champion. Why keep fighting and taking more damage, you know? This was a fun fight. It was just a rock'em sock'em robots top fight, and Carlos Leal came out on top. Yeah, good performance by Leal. He gets it done by a first-round TKO against Alex Morono. Moving on to the second to last fight on the card, Mairon Santos. Listen, I picked Mairon Santos. This was the biggest robbery of the entire card. Francis Marshall won that fight. I don't know if the judges were watching the fight with their eyes closed, but in what world did Mairon Santos win this fight? He got outstruck, he got dropped in one round, and he got outstruck the other rounds. Francis Marshall even landed a takedown in every single round, outstruck him in every single round, and dropped him in one of the rounds. What world do we live in that Mairon Santos won this fight? This was an embarrassing robbery. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Mairon Santos. He's decent. Francis Marshall, 100%, looked improved in this fight. He deserved the win over Mairon Santos, but the judges were like, yeah, he deserves the win, but we don't care about that. We're giving it to the other guy. And yeah, man, maybe the judges had money on Mairon Santos to win, and that's why they gave it to him because, like I said, I don't see how you score that fight for him. Francis Marshall went out there, did his thing. He outstruck Mairon Santos in every single round, I believe. He got a takedown in every single round. He knocked him down in one of the rounds. How do you give this fight to Mairon Santos? Even Mairon Santos was shocked that he won this fight. Even in the post-fight interview, he was gaslighting everybody, saying, yeah, I knew I won the fight. I knew I won it. He's like, this guy just held me down. He didn't do anything. He took you down. He beat you up on the feet. He won every single round, in my opinion, Francis Marshall. Maybe you can give the last round to Mairon Santos, but I thought Francis Marshall won every single round. They gave it to Mairon Santos. Embarrassing performance by the judges in this fight. I don't know what they were seeing, but yeah. Mairon Santos gets a robbery win over Francis Marshall. And you know Francis Marshall was heartbroken. This guy worked so hard to improve. And whenever the fight was announced, he ran out of the cage. I don't blame him. I would be pissed off after that. Give him fight of the night after that BS robbery, Dana White. Moving on to the last fight of the card, or the first one technically. Djorden Santos loses to Ozzy Diaz. I mean, Djorden Santos looked very sloppy in this fight. He gassed out. He was some of the most sloppy striking I've ever seen in my entire life. Djorden Santos looked like that guy that fought Alonzo Minifield last weekend. I forgot his name. It was an embarrassing performance by Djorden Santos. High output, but this guy has no defense on the feet. He's going to get chinned if he continues to fight like that. And yeah, man, if you're getting outworked and out-hustled by Ozzy Diaz, it's not a good look. That was Ozzy Diaz's first win in the UFC. This was a solid fight to start the card. Not a barn burner, as Dana White would say. But yeah, I enjoyed it. A good banger to start off the card. But Djorden Santos fought like an absolute tard. I mean, I don't know what he was doing in there. And yeah, Ozzy Diaz gets it done. He just kind of outstrikes and outworks and out-cardios Djorden Santos, landing the better shots and being more defensively sound to a decision win. And yeah, that's the card, guys. I ultimately went 7-3 on picks. If you guys don't know, if you didn't watch the card, 2 of the fights got canceled. Rivs and Ankalaev, Curtis Blades got canceled, and John Castaneda, Chris Gutierrez got canceled last minute due to sickness and pullouts on the day of the fight. And you already know the UFC is going to be pissed at Curtis Blades and not be doing him any favors. But yeah, I'd rate this card overall like a 6 out of 10. The main event was a massive disappointment, and the 2 fights getting canceled, and a lot of just the Lemos card on the main card. Why was that on the main card? They should have put Joshua Van Rei Tsuruya on the main card. Some of these card placements, man, what are the UFC doing? What are we doing with WMMA cards like that, fights like that on the main card in 2025? What are we doing, man? It needs to be on early prelims and nowhere else. But either way, the card, it was fun. The main event was an absolute snoozer. Alex Pereira fought absolutely embarrassingly. Magomed Ankalaev was embarrassing also for not getting a single takedown and hugging him against the fence the last 2 rounds. But either way, I was entertained. You guys know I love the UFC. I'll be here for the long ride. I'll be here for all the fights, even if I complain all the time. That's ultimately my reaction and recap of the entire card. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What do you rate this card out of 10? Did you think the main event was a robbery? What did you think of the card as a whole? Thank you guys for all tuning into the stream. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new. I'm out, guys. Later.